Friday, April 13th, 2018, Maneko 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. It's my second video today, and I want to talk about something a little different, especially with the mainstream media, YouTube, and others censoring contrarian or alternative opinions like mine. Some people, some viewers have told me that the more subscribers you get, they might actually censor you more. And they've noted that I've gone over 15,000 subscribers, and maybe that's why some of my videos have been given the yellow icon. They usually, and I request a manual review, and I usually get the green icon. But by then, I've had most of the views on that video, and I don't get too much ad revenue. So yeah, if you would like to support the channel, this is how you can do it. I'm not asking for much, $1 or $2 a month, maybe a little more if you can, but on Patreon or a one-off donation would be nice to keep the channel going. I am working with YouTube. I've sent them messages. I've been civil to them. I've explained to them what's happening. I've told them how I haven't changed my views. The content hasn't changed. So let's hope that things get better. But talking about fake news, mainstream media, YouTube, censorship, I saw, well, actually, first of all, I'll talk about a video that I did in August last year, which was also an unusual video, and it was more about myself, and it was entitled How I Reverse Type 2 Diabetes Without Medication. And I did the video because I'd been to the doctor, to the hospital and the doctor to see the results of the blood test. And if you want to know more about it, just, go to the video and listen to it. I've gotten, I'm really surprised. I've got 93,000 views on this video, and it hasn't been censored, by the way. But it just goes to show how the contrarian view, in my opinion, is winning over people. And one of the reasons why I'm making this video is because I saw this headline today in the Daily Express, which is a paper I never buy, but I bought it just to show it to you. And it says, obesity crisis blamed on NHS advice. And it's to do with my video, because I talk about how I reverse my type 2 diabetes by cutting down on carbohydrates and focusing on eating more protein, more vegetables, and cutting down on bread and cereal, and not worrying about eating meat and fat or cheese. And I started this 2.5 years ago, trying to change my diet, and it worked. I'm not taking medication. I've reversed the diabetes. Does this mean that I've cured it? No. As the Daily Express says on its front page, it says, rules on eating carbs are harmful, says experts. And it says, decades of advice to eat carbohydrates is responsible for Britain's obesity crisis. It was claimed last night. And I'll continue here. It says, a trio of leading medics said, let's see, page 4. Go here. A trio of leading medics said guidelines that made bread, pasta, and potatoes the base of the nation's diet have had disastrous consequences for millions and created a time bomb for the NHS. So they have called for an urgent review of dietary advice, which was drawn up 35 years ago. And the other interesting thing I saw in this paper, and it's not in the on the front page, is this story here, and I'll show it to you. It's on page 7. It says, toxin used in attack on spy was deadly Novichok, says inspectors. So there you go. There's the headline there. It isn't on the front page. And that story actually came out yesterday or late Wednesday, and I remember seeing it on Zerohedge. They reported yesterday morning. And Zerohedge, though, reports it like this. Chemical weapons watchdog can't identify source of nerve agent used in Skripal attack. And Zerohedge has reported it correctly. The thing is, I looked at other headlines yesterday after I saw that one, and the Telegraph, the Mail, and they all said, yeah, Novichok was used, says inspectors. But if you read this story here in the Express, and I'll read it for you here, it says, samples were taken from former Russian spy Sergei Skripal, his daughter Yulia, and Detective Sergeant Nick Bailey, the police officer injured in the attack. And it goes on to say, this is the important part, an executive summary does not directly name Novichok, the military-grade agent developed by Russia, which the government said was used, or identify the source of the poison. So Zerohedge reported it correctly. All the other papers and the Express, fake news. They put the headline is completely false because they did not they did not identify as Novichok. And yeah, it says, or identify the source of the poison. But then they go on to say, but a confidential full report distributed only to government officials was understood to include details of the toxin. So it's a load of rubbish, this headline, and all other papers reported it like that as well. For example, you have here The Guardian, left-wing paper, Novichok was used in spy poisoning, chemical weapons watchdog says. Novichok nerve agent was used to poison Sergei Skripal, the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. And the Sky News says chemical watchdog OPCW backs UK findings. This is just fake news. And the only, Zerohedge didn't report it like that. So there you go. That's the difference between Zerohedge and the fake mainstream media news. They didn't really lie within the article, but the headline, and most people, they look at the headline and the story and they barely ever read the whole thing. And if they read through it, you have to be really alert to say, oh, actually, they didn't name it. they didn't identify it. So now, the other thing I found looking for this headline today is that, is this real little peach here now coming from the Telegraph, which is a right-wing paper. It doesn't matter if it's the Telegraph, the Express, or the Guardian. They all seem to want to provoke Russia. They all seem to want a war. I don't know what's wrong. That you want a war with Russia that could escalate to a nuclear war. So the headline today in the Telegraph is, Russia hacked Yulia Skripal's emails for 5 years and tested Novichok on door handles. Bombshell intelligence dossier reveals. So this is the same intelligence service that came out with a dossier on the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I'm assuming it's the British intelligence. Same people that came out with the Trump dossier on Russia, the Christopher Steele, who is MI6. We are told that he's ex-MI6, but are any spies really ex-spies? So that's out now. What else? And it's also in The Guardian, as I said, which is a left-wing paper. It says, Russia tested nerve agent on door handles before Skripal attack, UK dossier claims. So they're really, really trying hard because they know no one believes them anymore. And if Theresa May and her government admit that there's nothing there, that's the end of her, and her government will have to have general elections, and will have to have, and Jeremy Corbyn will probably win. I agree with Jeremy Corbyn for questioning May for jumping to conclusions about this gas, this supposed poisoning attempt. But I don't agree with his economics, but at least I don't think he'll want war. But that's another question anyway. So that's what I wanted to talk about, how the fake news, mainstream media, they twist things and they lie basically in the headlines. And that's why I look at Zerohedge. That's why I don't buy this trash Express anymore. And you can see that a lot of things that we're talking about in a few years' time, they'll have to admit that it's true, just like with the diabetes and carbohydrates. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on DTube, which is the same as follow me on Steemit. They're connected, Steemit and dtube.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.